folks. Hello from Pittsburgh, PA, with JayBurghReacts. We're down here in the Bat Cave with the puppies. And we're going to read you some stories today of 21 things that have happened to people that cannot be explained. Scary, weird, just short little, most of them are paragraph long stories that have happened. Let me get my camera set up and start reading you these stories from 21 things these are true stories from people that have just put them on the internet. I have their first names on some of them. I'll tell you all that. We're gonna read them to you, and that's gonna be our live stream for you today, folks. So I hope you all enjoy it. Without further ado, how you doing? I'm Jay. JayBurghReacts. You guys gotta bear with me a little bit when I'm reading these stories to you today, cause reason being, got diesel in my left eye at work on Wednesday, and it's kind of messed up right now. You can see. I don't know if you can tell. You probably can, but pretty messed up right now. I can't see nothing. I can see a hazy, foggy cloudiness out of it. That's about it. And the best way to describe it is, if you ever wore glasses in the wintertime and you walked into someone's house that was warm and they fogged up the lenses real quick, that's what it looks like when I look out my left eye. So bear with me today. I'm going to read these stories to you the best I can with my one good eye. And they gave me, anyway, what happened was they gave me drops and everything, and I got to go back Monday to see a cornea specialist, and they're going to look further into it. They said I shouldn't be worried, that I should get my full vision back, but they wanted the cornea specialist to look at it anyway, because they just want to make sure, pretty much. So I pray for me. I'm hoping that's all it is. It's just some kind of the cloudiness will go away and I'll be able to see good out my left eye again. Pray for me. That's all I'm saying. That's all I can be. That's all I can do. Is pray and hope that everything goes well. As of right now, though, it's cloudy vision. I can't make out any details of anything. I can see movement through the cloudiness, like a fog lens. You can see movement still, but you just can't pick out all the details. So that's how I feel right now with my left eye. And also, I don't know if you notice on camera right now either, but it's kind of like, it looks like a lazy eye. It's pointing off to the left because I can't focus on anything because I can't see nothing. So therefore, it's just lazy. It's being lazy right now. But yeah, so just say a prayer for me. Hopefully it all gets well. And with that being said, I'm going to start reading you some of these crazy stories of people, stuff that had happened to people that they put up on the internet for everyone else to look at and read. And that's what I'm going to do to you. Read you true stories from the internet of people, 21 of them to be exact, maybe a little more if I find more. But these are 21 of them that are unexplained stuff that they can't explain, at least why it happened, and ghost stories, maybe scary stories, strange things. So without further ado, let's go and let's hear the story. So the first one comes to us from a guy named Nardelan, spelled Nardelan, and he's calling this one the mystery handprint. My girlfriend got out of the shower and called me into the bathroom to show me something. There was a very strange, distinct handprint on the mirror. I lived alone, and she was the only adult that had been to my house in about 2 years. We each placed our handprints on the sides of the mystery handprint for reference, and neither looked anything like the mystery print. I still have no idea how that handprint got there. Yeah, that sounds pretty freaky. That would definitely freak me out. Almost sounds like them, what's that, Airbnb stories, kind of, where the guy has a key to get in, whoever owns the Airbnb you're staying in, and Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's the maintenance guy or whatever that has came in at night and stuck his hand on your mirror while you're in the shower. That'd be crazy, huh? So that was story number one. See, these are going to be quick little stories. I'll react a little bit to them afterwards, and that's all we're doing today, folks. So let's keep moving. Let's go on to the next one. That was number one. Number two story is called The Missing Belt. And that's brought to us by Jones E27. He writes, or he or she, I don't know. I was once changing pants in my room before work, and I took off my belt. After putting my belt, after putting my other pair of pants, after putting on my other pair of pants, I went to put my belt back on, but the belt was gone. No one else was in the room, and I spent a good 10 minutes looking for it. I had simply set it on the floor. It's been 10 years, and I've never seen that belt again. What happened to his belt? Where did his belt go? And I'm sorry I was messing that up. Like I said, I got one eye here right now, folks. So if you didn't catch that part, rewind it back to the beginning. I'll tell you why. I only have one eye. But yes, that's what happened. The belt disappeared. He never found it again. What do you guys think happened to the belt? I don't know. Tell me. So that was story number two. Number three, a little bit longer maybe. The Pink Room Perel. This one's brought to us by Mr. Vanek. I think these are all Redditors, actually. These might be Redditors. So these stories might all be coming from Reddit, I'm not sure. And he writes, so this still baffles me, but when I was a kid, we moved into a new house. And while the realtor was showing us around, I saw a lady sitting at a white dresser in a pink room. She even waved at me. When I asked my mom who it was, she just brushed me off because she was trying to listen to the realtor. The weirdest part of this was that, sorry, I lost my place for a second. Okay. The weirdest part of this was that once we moved in, we found that there were no rooms painted pink in the house. My family just brushed the whole thing off, despite me being adamant about what I saw. Anyway, fast forward a few years, I'm in high school at this point, and we start renovating the house. While stripping the wallpaper in the master bedroom, we found out it was painted pink. This still low-key freaks me out. So he saw, I guess, that image of what the house used to look like while they were looking at it. When they moved in, there was nothing there. And yeah, that's crazy. It just sounds crazy. Like, unless maybe the realtor had that pink room wallpapered and all that shit before they moved in. They had it fixed, and that's probably why maybe his mom brushed him off, possibly. That's the only thing I could think of about it, Or it was like he was seeing back in the past image because he was a little kid, and little kids are more susceptible to that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, it sounds like a pretty crazy thing. That would definitely crazy. It would make me crazy back in the day. I know that. So this next story comes to us from, let's find out who, Plumhawk. And he calls it This Jump Back. Story number 4, by the way. So he says, when I was 12 years old, I went up to Lake Tahoe with my friend and his parents, who had a condo in Incline Village. One day, the two of us are walking to the bowling alley and had to cross the street into a crosswalk. Right after we stepped off the curb, a car came really close to hitting us. All of a sudden, we're both up on the curb like we were lifted a few feet. We both looked at each other strangely. Did you jump? No, did you? No. We spent the next hour kind of dumbfounded. It didn't feel like a shove or any use of force. We were in the street, then we weren't. Wow, that's pretty crazy, you know, like some divine force put both of them up on the curb real quick because they didn't want them to sacrifice themselves or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty crazy, something like that happening, you know? But, yeah, I don't know, man. What do you guys think about that? You think stuff like that could happen? I think it can. You know, it definitely can happen. It's like divine intervention. You know what I mean? It's something like that. So, but anyway, let's move on to our next story, number 5. This one comes to us from somebody by the name of Al Kashki. Al Kashki. These names, you know. But number 5, the reoccurring nightmare. So, he writes, when I was in elementary school, I used to have the same dream every weekend, starting on Saturday when I would go to sleep, and then waking up in the middle of the night on Sunday morning and throwing up. The dream was always a bunch of numbers, not even anything happening, just a bunch of random, jumbled up numbers all over the place. I never understood why that happened. The same dream would happen on the same night every week, and I would throw up every single time. I always think about it and wonder what it meant, or if it was just some weird coincidence. Well, I don't know if it was a coincidence. It was definitely something weird going on. If you had the same dream every weekend on from Saturday to Sunday, jumping up numbers, maybe you're some kind of like genius that needs to save mankind by putting all them numbers together and thinking of some kind of phrase, or you know what I mean? Like, geez, that's crazy. I wouldn't call it a coincidence, you know. What do you guys think about that? Let us know in the comments right now. If there's anybody in here, I don't even know if there's anybody in here watching it live. But if you're watching the re-stream or the replay of it, let us know in the comments. The next story comes to us from Dry Shampoo for You. This is story number 6. The non-existent memory. And they write, I have a vivid memory of being at the Statue of Liberty as a child on my dad's shoulders, seeing the skyline of NYC, New York City, for those of you that don't know what NYC stands for. I remember the ferry we took. I remember what we ate for lunch that day, etc., etc. I've always talked about it, but my family denies I ever went to New York City. I didn't go for the first time until I was 23, but strangely enough, when I went, I remembered everything. Just how it had been when I was there with my dad. What do you guys think about that one? Sounds to me like he's having some kind of, what do they call that? Deja vu of maybe his past life. You know what I mean? That's what that sounds like to me. Number 7 story is one that more along the lines of stuff I'm into, you know? And it's about an NDE, or near-death experience. It comes to us from JNoWay826. So, let's start. When I was 10 years old, I didn't want to go to school one day. I faked a stomach ache so my grandmother would let me stay home. I've always been a bad liar, so my grandmother tried to call my bluff. She told me if I was too sick for school, then she would be scheduling me a doctor's appointment. 3 hours later, I was rushed into emergency surgery. My fake illness was actually appendicitis, and it was so inflamed that if I hadn't come in that day, my appendix would have ruptured, potentially killing me. I felt 100% fine that day. Faking being sick saved my life. Wow, that's crazy there, you know? Wow, can you imagine that? He was just faking. He didn't want to go to school, which I've done many a times. I remember back in my day, pretending I was sick to my mom, saying, Mom, I don't feel good. And then I'd lay in bed and pretend I was sick the whole time until she left for work and everybody was out of the house, and I would be jumping for joy, like, yeah, I got the whole house to myself. This guy was doing that, and it ended up saving his life. Ain't that some shit? You know what I mean? That's crazy. It's definitely crazy. Alright, well, let's go to number 8. Story number 8. This one comes to us from Raw Hitted. Raw Hitted. But what he writes, his story name is... Come on. I don't know why this phone does this. I'm trying to get the story loaded up on my other phone here, and it ain't coming. But there we go. This literal dream come true. That's what he writes about. So here we go. This one is strange to me because it was so long ago that I'm convinced I have to be remembering things wrong. I was a young kid and at the grocery store. I saw this small toy helicopter that I really wanted for some reason. I, of course, didn't buy it, but the memory of it was stuck in my head. A few nights later, I had a dream that I was playing with the helicopter, but I realized it was a dream. In the dream, stupid young me thought that if I put it under my pillow, it would still be there when I woke up. After that, I woke up and eagerly checked under my pillow. It was right where I left it in the dream. As a kid, I wasn't surprised to find it there, but years later, I still have no clue how the toy helicopter actually got underneath my pillow. Huh? Craziness. How's that happen, you know? That goes to stuff I've seen before about, I don't know if you ever seen that documentary on Netflix before. It's called The Secret. Well, if you ever watched it, they talk in this documentary about manifesting stuff for yourself. And you see, that's the secret. If you want stuff to come to you in life, think about it with all your might and manifest it in your mind, and it shall be, pretty much. So maybe he manifested it. Maybe he did it correctly. Manifested that toy helicopter right under his pillow, and it ended up showing up there. That's all I can say about that one. What do you guys think, huh? I don't know. Let's get on to the next story, though. Story number 9. And this other dream literally came true. This one's written to us. Come on. I don't understand this phone sometimes. Sometimes it moves, sometimes it don't. But anyway, it's come to us from Astrological Fox. Like I said, and the name of the story is, And This Other Literal Dream Come True. And he writes, when I was in primary school, there was all of these cups in the cafeteria which were filled with milk every lunch. Red, green, blue, but only one yellow cup. Everyone would fight to get the yellow cup like it was the Holy Grail. And it had been that way for years. Everybody wanted the yellow cup. One night, I had a dream that the cafeteria had gotten more yellow cups in, and lo and behold, the next day, there were hundreds of yellow cups. That's just craziness how our mind, the cups were probably ordered all along, and somehow, some way, the human body is that powerful, and our minds are that powerful. You just know it. He just manifested the future, like he was seeing the future in his head, in his dreams, and it was actually a true future, you know? Literal dream come true. So, that was that one. Let's move on to the next one, folks. I can find it here. Stupid phone. Come on. Alright, this one's called, come on! Sometimes you gotta love technology, and sometimes you gotta hate technology. I don't know why it ain't moving, but here we go. This next story comes to us from Baritone 3, and it's called The Ghostly Guest. He writes, my dad owned a small garden shop, so I'd stay behind to check after school until the shop closed. That was until I saw a tall man wearing all black, like a trench coat, walking past my dad and smiling at me before going into a staff-only area. I jumped up to stop him, even though I was only 7. This back area was filled with new shipments. I turned the corner, but nobody is there. There was nowhere he could have gone. I asked my dad to check the CCTV after closing, but it's only shown me jumping up and running out of the frame. I never felt comfortable there again. So he just saw a store, or saw a ghost. Pretty much all he saw, you know. That's all I can explain. You know, he saw an apparition of a tall man. When I was reading that, it kind of reminded me of the tall man in Poltergeist. You know, the tall, slender man that was the actual Poltergeist that would go after the girl. That's what that just made me think of when I was reading it. I don't know about y'all. But this next one's a little short one. Comes to us from BC Poop is Funny. And it's called This Little Psychic. So he writes, I swear my 4-year-old can read my mind, or we think on the same wavelength sometimes. I've randomly thought of a specific food. Excuse me a second, I'll come back to the story. I gotta tell the little puppy boy to be quiet, so I'll be right back. Relax. Enjoy yourselves. Hey! Just had to tell a little boy to, I'm back. And I had to tell a little boy to, are we still videotaping here? There's 2 people in here? Cool. 2 thumbs up, too. What's up, 2 people in here? How y'all doing? I'm not looking at the screen, so if you're typing anything to me, I won't be able to answer you back. But I'm just saying hi and thank you for being in here. I appreciate it. And we're going to get right back into it and read the stories. Here we go. I'll just start that story over again. It was story number 11, and it's called This Little Psychic. So it goes, I swear my 4-year-old can read my mind, or we think on the same wavelength sometimes. I've randomly thought of a specific food, like a specific type of ice cream, which we rarely have, and he'll ask me to get it. Come on. I don't know what's going on now. This thing's moving around on me. Technology, like I said, sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. And right now I hate it. Because of course, oh, here we go. Hopefully it stays where it's at. But like he was saying, he thought of a specific food, like a specific type of ice cream, which we rarely have, and he'll ask me to get it. Or I'll be thinking about my mom, and he'll ask, can we go to Grandma's? So that's just like being on the same wavelength as family members, kind of like twins, how they can feel each other's pain, stuff like that. I've heard of many stories about stuff like that, you know. Strange. It's definitely strange how you can do that, but yeah, that's what I'd chalk that up as. But anyway, let's move on if we can here, if technology lets us. This next story is called This Shared Demon, and it comes to us from Level 1 Biscuit. And Level 1 Biscuit writes, I had a sleep paralysis nightmare when I was a kid. I saw a red-eyed dark figure standing in the doorway. It's always stuck with me, and I've called him the boogeyman ever since. One day, I was browsing Reddit, and somebody painted a picture of their sleep paralysis demon. It was like the guy had painted my exact dream, and a bunch of other people commented that they have seen the same creature. It always makes me uneasy to think about. So what do you guys think that is? Some kind of creature that comes to people's nightmares? And it must be, because a lot of people are explaining the same thing and stuff like that, he's saying. So it's probably something along that next dimension that is scraping along close to our dimension and just jumping around like Freddy Krueger into people's dreams and making them paralyzed at night. I'll tell you a quick little story of something that happened to me when I was younger. As I scroll through to the next one here, get ready. Right there, okay. So what happened to me one time when I was younger is, I can't remember how old I was. I'd say I was probably early double digits, like 10, 11, 12, 13 maybe even. So one night I'm sleeping, and I had a bout of sleep paralysis. And what happened in my experience was I woke up, my eyes were wide awake, and I could not move my body whatsoever. I was just like frozen in the, laying on my back, you know what I mean, just frozen there. I couldn't turn my head, I couldn't even talk. I was trying to talk, I remember. I was trying to yell out, help me, and it came across as like, really, my dog didn't like me doing that, but but that's what it was like. And then I remember hearing, hey! No, excuse me 1 second. What are you barking at? What are you barking at, huh? Knock it off now. Stop it. Stop barking. That's the only problem about doing your live streams is you can't stop live stuff happening. And like I was saying, anyway, the dogs just keep wanting to bark at people walking by, whatever. Hey, that's what dogs do. Dogs bark. I know. I'm just getting upset over nothing. It's just a normal thing. But I was telling you about my story. So what happened was I was frozen like I was saying, and I couldn't move or nothing. I was trying to yell, help me. And all I remember is like, all I seen was dark figures in front of me, and they were mumbling stuff like it's like they were chanting. And I tell you what, I'm getting like kind of goosebumps right now from talking about it. It was pretty freaky, and that's the only thing any crazy thing that ever happened to me in my dreams was that, really, or when I was sleeping. Never knew what it was. Never had it again after that either. I've read into it before. Some people say it was like they call it the old hag or something like that, maybe. And I don't know. I just heard a lot of different stuff about it. Out of body experience, possibly too. You know, like yeah, it was just weird. That was something that happened to me though. Anyway, let's get back to the stories at hand. We're on number 13 right now, and this one comes to us from Book Eater. And he names his story, This Inexplicable Prediction. So, he writes, I turned to a person who I barely knew and said, my sister is getting engaged right now, without having the intent of speaking to them at all. He politely asked me why I said that, and I had to just shake my head and say, I don't know. A few days later, I found out that, sure enough, at that exact moment on the far side of the world, my sister had said yes to Mr. Right. I hadn't even known she was dating. That's crazy. But that goes along the lines of twins feeling each other's pain and weird stuff, you know, how you can feel certain family members' interactions, everything. You just know what each other are thinking. I'm kind of like that with my wife right now, too, a lot. We think of the same things a lot, you know, and finish each other's sentences sometimes, you know. So yeah, it's just all with the connection of our spirits, you know what I mean? It's kind of a connection thing, that's the way I believe. But anyway, let's move on. Number 14. Let's see if we can get it up here. Come on. Number 14 comes to us from Wicked Pixel 1221. And it's called This Lost Time. And they write, I used to fence. You know, like, on guard, fence. And I was at a tournament once and had just started a bout against a competitor. You win the bout by being the first to 5 points. I score what I believe to be the first point, but the officials indicated the match is over and I've won. I stood there confused for a second, but my opponent seems to agree that I've won, salutes and approaches for a handshake. I go along with it, I checked the scorecard and it says I've won 5-2 in total. I lost probably 4 or 5 minutes of time. It hasn't happened to me since, to the best of my knowledge, but it's been 20 years and I still wonder what happened. Wicked Pixel, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I guess you lost time, like you said. Lost time, you were in the zone maybe because you were into that fencing so much that it put you in this zone where you didn't even realize what you were doing. You know what I mean? You were winning and doing your thing, and that's it, man. I've been in the zone before. I've been in the zone shooting pool a couple times where I don't remember making any of the balls in, and the next thing I know, I'm shooting the 9-ball in or whatever. There's been a bunch of times when I've been in the zone, and that's what I think happened to you. I think you were in the zone. Professional athletes know about the zone. But anyway, let's move on to number 15. The real world carry. And this one comes to us from Ink Swamp. So let's see what Ink Swamp has to say. When my daughter was little, whenever she would get upset, something in the kitchen would randomly break. It happened way too many times to be coincidental, and the things that broke did so in inexplicable ways. I clearly remember one instance very early in the morning standing in the kitchen, telling her she couldn't have cake from the night before. She immediately looked angry, and I heard a weird pink plink sound inside the cupboard. I opened it to find the plate on top of the stack was cracked in several places. No signs of this in later years. She's 24 now, and I often allude to this and remind her boyfriend not to piss her off. Right? So she's definitely some kind of medium, you know, like that has the ability to move stuff on her own, but she just don't know about it now. And I remember seeing stuff before about how kids are really in tune to this kind of stuff, and sometimes they just lose it in their adult years. Maybe that's what's going on here. That's my best guess for it. Good story, though. But let's move on. 16. This strange ability is brought to us by Opt-Oaf. Spelled O-P-T-O-P-F. They write, several times a year I'll suddenly get a thought that it's been a long time, usually months, since I last spoke with a particular friend or relative. Then I will get a voice call or an email from that person within a few hours. I can't explain it, but I never tell them about it because I fear losing this strange ability that I have. That's happened to me many a times. You know what else? It happens to everybody, and they don't even realize it sometimes. And then I'll tell you what I mean by that. And I know this has happened to everybody. So you're sitting there talking with a friend or a relative or whatever, family member about a certain subject. Then you go onto your phone to look up that subject, and you don't even type one letter in, and boom, that subject appears right on your phone, top of the search bar. Has that happened to you? Oh yeah, I guarantee you it has. You know why? I don't have to say why. I think you all know why. Because everybody's listening. Anyway, let's get out of that and let's move on to this. Number 17. This Other Mother. Brought to us by Peppereddits. So, Peppereddits, let's see what they say. When I was a kid, I slept with my bedroom door open because my cat liked to cuddle with me. Our hallway was just a round hallway, and I could see the bathroom door and my parents' bedroom door. I also slept with my lights on, but dimmed. One night, I couldn't sleep for some reason. I called out for my mom, and I saw her standing near my doorway, kind of turned away from me with her hand on her face. I knew it was her because she slept in a big purple t-shirt that night, but she was completely still, static. Mind you, I was wide awake. When I called out to her, she doesn't move at all. Blink, she was gone. I started freaking out and calling out to her, and that's when I heard their door open and close, and my mom rushed to my aid. I think she either slept with me all night or I stayed up all night watching TV to pacify myself. I started sleeping with my door closed after that, and I don't look too carefully at darkness. Yeah, that was pretty scary. Maybe he was in the dream world still, and his mom was also in the dream world still when he thought he was wide awake. And in her dream world, she was just making sure her baby boy was okay. And in his dream world, he was just winning his mummy. That's the only thing I can think of. You know what I mean? That was pretty crazy, though. Anyway, let's move on. We're getting closer to the end here, folks. We're at number 18 right now. And this one comes to us from J. My Kane. It's called This Horrifying Meow. He writes, they write, I was at a friend's house, and they were in the garage working on a dirt bike. The driveway was empty, and their parents had left a while ago. I went inside to grab a soda, but decided to look for his cat, who I hadn't seen all day. I walked into the office, and as I'm calling the cat's name, a deep man's voice said, meow, right into my right ear. That would scare the living shit out of me, I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, he says, I jumped and ran around the main floor looking for who said it. I didn't find anyone. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy there, man. That is crazy. I kind of had something along them lines happen to me before. And this was fairly recent, like within the last 5 years ago. But I was in the back of, when I lived in the one time in an apartment, I was out back. We used to hang out back a lot. Anyway, I was out back by myself. I don't know what maybe I was back when I smoked cigarettes, and I think I was out back smoking a cigarette. It was dark out. It was probably about 10, 11 at night, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden I hear someone, it was right in my ear, right next to me, say my name, say JJ. And I remember thinking, who the hell is that? Looking around, and I'm like, immediately I got freaked out, because I knew nobody was out there with me, and I just remember that vividly. And I remember I went in and told my wife, Chrissy, about what just happened, and she said, well, maybe it was a spirit. Just brushing it off real quick, the way she does. But no, it was crazy. I remember someone, it was like they were right in my ear, and they said JJ. And that's my nickname. That was my nickname growing up, JJ. I don't go by JJ no more, but I used to go by JJ all the way up at my whole high school years, everything, until as soon as, pretty much until I turned 18. I didn't go by JJ anymore. I went by Jay, and that's what I go by today. But yeah, that was just a crazy thing that happened to me before too. It was weird. But anyway, let's move on to story number 19. And this one comes to us from Beans375. And he calls it This Angelic Delivery. So, he writes, I was too young to remember this by myself, but my mom always tells this story. Alright, let's move up it. Apparently, when I was younger, barely able to speak, I was sitting on the floor playing with some toys with my mom when I just nonchalantly said, when I was in heaven, I met a woman who said you'd be the perfect mummy for me. My mom asked me to describe this woman, and I apparently described my mom's great-grandmother perfectly, down to the eye color and everything. I had obviously never met my great-great-grandmother, nor seen a picture of her. And that is crazy, so that tells us that there is something going on in the afterlife. And I believe that wholeheartedly, I definitely believe this ain't it. I believe this is just a vessel we're in. Our spirit, our soul is us. This body on the outside is just a vessel. Our spirit goes on. And I believe that true to my heart. I definitely believe that. Don't know how y'all are, but that's how I am. Anyway, We're getting to the nitty gritty here, folks. And we are on story number 20. One to go after this. Hopefully I can get this one loaded up here. Come on. Technology once again, you know. When you try to do stuff live, you can't, because technology screws you over all the time. Come on. You gonna move for me or what? There we go, finally moving. Come on. It was, now it's not. I don't understand, I never will. Come on. Having fun here, folks. Come on. So now I'm way up there. There we go. Moving. Alright, number 20, brought to us by Cabernet Penguin. And this one is called This Criminal Minds Episode IRL. I had watched an early episode of Criminal Minds where an arsonist would lock people in their homes. Before lighting the house on fire. For whatever reason, it really got to me. A night later, I woke up out of a dead sleep and couldn't get that episode out of my head, out of my mind. So I finally decided to just get up and check the front door. I swear I couldn't open the door. I unlocked it, but it was totally stuck. I woke up my husband because I was so freaked out. He also tried, but couldn't get the door open, and he's a big guy. I ended up climbing out a window so I could push the door from the outside while he pulled from the inside. We finally got it open, and I didn't watch Criminal Minds for a long time after that. Yeah, that's pretty freaky, man. Like, that's unexplainable. For real, you know, all of a sudden their door just sticks out of nowhere after watching that episode and it never stuck before. That's pretty crazy. Cabernet Penguin, thank you for that. And with that being said, we are finally at the last story, number 21. And it's called, And Finally, This International House of Nightmares. And it's brought to us by JayBurghReacts. So, let's hear what he says. He was driving across the U.S. and drove into Salt Lake City. For whatever reason, I got a craving for IHOP, so I punched it into Google Maps and followed the directions to a spot in the middle of town. I walked in, and the place was empty. I don't mean like there was no customers. I mean there was literally not a person in the place. No waitstaff, no customers, no cooks. Nobody. There was partially eaten food all on the tables and bags and purses in the booths. TVs were on everywhere. There were even burgers on the grill slowly burning. There wasn't a soul in the place. It was like they all just vanished at once. I was so freaked out that I hopped in my car and drove until I hit the Nevada border before stopping to eat. I still have no idea what the fuck happened. I couldn't explain that to you either, unless you were dreaming and you thought you were doing that, but you were actually dreaming. That's all I could tell you on that, you know? That's crazy, man. Yeah, or maybe he walked into some kind of movie set and didn't realize it, and they were all on a break right then, you know. He just walked in the middle of the movie. I don't know. That's kind of weird too. But yeah, that's it, folks. That is it. That is it for them, at least. For them 21 stories. I hope you guys enjoyed them. Some of them were definitely weird. I enjoyed them. And that's all I got for you today. I'm trying to look here, see if I can find something else for you guys real quick. But I ain't got nothing on hand, especially with this crazy phone, you know. Don't want to move at all. Okay, we got something here. Maybe we can get something over there for you. Freaking moves for me. Okay, it's not. So, let's see what happens. I'm trying to see if these load up for you. I can read a few more stories to you from some of the comments of that thread. Some of their own stories of the readers and that, you know. So let's see if we can find it. Oh, come on. Come on. This phone does not want to do anything for me today, of course. As soon as it was fine before. Okay, we got one here. Maybe. It's moving for me. Come on. I'm going to make sure it opens all the way up before I start reading it. I got like half of the story right here in front of me. I don't want to start reading it and not be able to finish it. You know what I mean? That would be wrong to do to people. So I'm trying to get the other half of it up right here. Come on. Come on. You don't want to do nothing for me. Stupid phone. Stupid phone. I kick your ass, you stupid phone. I kick your ass. I don't know why it does this either, because it's showing I have full Wi-Fi right now from my house. Full bars. Why are you doing this to me? Why? Why are you freezing up when I'm trying to do stuff? Probably because maybe it's interfering with the live stream, possibly. I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't know. I'm not going to start this story and not be able to finish it. So, let's just talk for a little bit, I guess. I'll talk for a little bit more, and then call it a day. You know what I mean? It'll be the live stream for a day. So, I just had something on my mind that I wanted to tell you guys about. And I can't, it's on my mind already, you know? Can't think about it. Can't think what it is. Let me turn around and look at the comments and see if anybody has any suggestions. I don't see nothing here. Number one. Hi. Hey, Michelle. Michelle Hanson. I don't know if you're still in here or not, but hello. I see you were. Oh, well. We're going to call it a day, folks. We're going to call it a day. You all have a good one. Have a good rest of your weekend. I hope you enjoyed my little story adventure there. And I'll be back again next weekend for the next live stream. And I'll read you some more crazy shit. Hold on, let's see if we can get it. Maybe I did finally get through this. Maybe I can come right back and see. See if it lets me. Ooh, it did. Finally, it let me. So we might have one more story for you, as long as it loads. Let's see here. It's got the little circles going now, so it is loading. Let's see if it loads. There we go. Oh. Okay, let's read it. This one comes to us. This is the last story, folks. Maybe we can read a couple more. But anyway, here's the first one. This one comes to us from Shelltime 264. And they write, I have a habit of reading before bed. One night I finished reading, set my book on the nightstand, and put my glasses on top of it like I always do. The next morning, the glasses were gone. I know I'd had them there, because my vision is bad enough that there's no way I could have read without them. At the time, I didn't have a backup pair, so the next day my parents came and helped me look all over my apartment, but they were just gone. So they took me to get a new pair. Months later, I went through that same nighttime routine, and when I woke up in the morning, both pairs of glasses were sitting on top of the book I'd been reading. That's pretty freaking strange. What do you guys think that was? Someone wrote in the comments, it was fairies. They're known for their sticky fingers. Huh. Someone else wrote, literally, Miles, literally last night, while me and my brother were all alone at my house, I went to go on his computer to play games or whatever, and when you walk into his room, his desk and his computer are on the other side of the doorway. So as I was plugging in my mouse and the keyboard, my brother takes the ones from his computer and brings it to the living room to play video games because controller sucks anyways. As I was plugging it in out of my corner of my eye, I swear I saw him walk past my doorway, staring at his phone to the end of the hallway, either to the bathroom, my mom's room, or my room. But when I looked for him in those rooms, he wasn't there. All the rooms were dark and really spooky, so when I went to the living room on the other side of the hallway, there he was, sitting in the living room gaming. I asked him if he had gone down the hallway, and he said no. I asked again in a more serious tone, and he said he didn't. I am still freaked out. Man, that's pretty crazy. Maybe you saw something else besides your brother. Anyway, I'm not going to read no more. I'm just going to end the live stream now. I hope you guys had fun, though, with the 21 that I did read for you. Thanks for being here if you were in the live, and if you're watching the replay, please let me know in the comments if you enjoyed some of them. Give me a thumbs up. That would be great. Share this out even. Help some more people come to my new themed channel where I will be reading stuff to you guys that are whatever. I'll read about anything. If you guys have any suggestions or stories that you want me to read during one of my lives, send them on over, man. I will definitely read them. So I usually make a post about this before I do it. I did do a post today on this show, and you could probably comment on that post. Maybe put your email address, and then I'll email you, and then we can go from there. We can figure out a way for you to get your story to me. So, yeah. Thank you, though, for being here. And that's going to be it, folks. JayBurghReacts is out. And I'm going to send you guys off by watching cute puppies sleeping. What better way to go out then? So check it out. Man. Christopher's place. Should I bought a new motorcycle? You bought a new motorcycle, huh? Cool. But anyway, hey puppy. Hey Brammy. Georgie, you're over there sleeping, huh? Oh, put his head up. But, all right, y'all. Y'all take care. JayBurghReacts. Out. Come on, switch around. Out. Man, I don't even know how to stop that. There we go. Peace out, y'all.